Hi, this is Brian Hegney, Instructor of Communication at High Point University. We just spent a long time setting up these reference planes, so if you skipped it, that's fine. You'll never know how to set up reference planes. These are not selectable. I won't be able to select them. That's great. What I'm going to do is now start my modeling process, and I'm going to go to my command panel over here on the right, click the furthest to the left tab, which is the Create tab. It looks like a plus. You're adding to the scenes. You're creating something. We're going to create geometry. Standard primitive, notice we could choose like compound objects, etc. Standard primitives is fine. And I basically want to figure out, like, what is this character? What is the most basic shape? And it is, I think, a cylinder. So that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to click cylinder. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and left click and drag it. And in this case, I actually will create this in the orthographic view. If I were to hit Alt-W, just show you, and create it in the front view, notice what happens. My cylinder is created in this weird way that I don't want it in that direction. So it actually is easiest. If you want something to be up and down when you create it, you can create it in the perspective view. And I'm just going to drag it from the middle of my scene. Left click, drag until you think it's the diameter that you want, and then let go of your mouse button. Now drag to figure out how high you want it. Normally I do this in my front view with no perspective so that I can actually see, but I didn't. I forgot to do that. That's okay. When you get it to be the height you want, left click. And it's okay if it's not perfect. I don't know why this viewport is not updating. Sorry about that. There we go. Oh, I was in front view. I could have seen it. Oh, you'll notice I also did something really dumb. No, I won't tell you. I won't tell you. I did everything perfectly. So the first things first, I'm actually going to right-click my front viewport, hit Alt-W, and just look at it in this sense. I'm going to right-click in my viewport. Right-clicking in your viewport is the best way, I think, to disable the tool you're in. So notice I'm in cylinder creation mode. If I were to left-click here to try to select anything, I wouldn't actually be selecting anything. I'd just be creating, oh my gosh, I can't left-click. I can't left-click and select because I'm in cylinder creation mode. So I'm going to hit Control-Z, Control-Z. Wait, Control-Z, Control-Z. It's not working? Why? There. Control-Z, 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 Control-Z. There. So to disable that, I could left-click that cylinder. I could left-click. I could. Oh, no, I can't. Well, in the olden days, you could. So this is interesting. Okay, well then I was going to tell you the best way to do it is what I was gonna say, which is to right-click in your viewport. Right-clicking in your viewport disables any sort of tool here. Okay? Now, if you're like 3 tools deep into a single tool, then you have to right-click it like 3 times. Okay. We won't get to that, I don't think. So I created my cylinder, and it's actually not the way I want it to be. I'm going to tap W because my cylinder is created. You'll notice I can drag it upward into this, and I'm going to actually create this as my body, but I actually don't want it to, I want to start it right here, and then I'll extrude his legs later. So I'm going to drag this in a position so that he's right there. And I'm going to go to my Modify tab, and I really need to set this cylinder up. And if you look at the Modify tab, what you'll notice is I have a number of different settings. Let me drag this. I don't need the stack yet. It shows me I'm working on cylinder 01. I'm going to call this Robert, by the way. I'm going to rename cylinder 001 to Robert. Enter. And I get to change its radius by dragging that little spinner number. And that changes the radius, and changing the height changes how high I want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and keep it like that. So it goes from the bottom of his torso all the way up to the top of his helmet. So that's height and that's radius. The next thing I want to do is think about height segments, and that's the numbers of horizontal lines. I could set that to be a lot. I could set that to be 1. You don't want it too few, you don't want it too many, so I'm going to set it to be, I'm going to stick with 5 just for starters. And then cap segments, we're actually going to delete our caps. Now sides is the important thing. So we actually don't need this many sides to be a round image or a round model in 3D Studio Max or in a game engine. We probably want to use 8 sides. 18 is way too many to keep track of all those vertices, and we really only need 8. And the reason why we need 8 is this gives us actually a nice way to have 2 faces for every quadrant. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is, I know from my past experience that having this rotated this way with this line going down that part of my body actually does not help me, and if you saw the intro to this video, you'll remember why. And I'm going to want to create my own top segments and bottom segments. So I'm actually going to rotate this. I'm going to rotate it, let's see, 360. I want to rotate it by a half of a segment arc. So if there are 8 segments, oh goodness, okay. I know there's 360 degrees in a circle. So each one of these arcs is 360 divided by 8, 45 degrees divided by 2 equals 22.5 degrees. Okay, I want to rotate it 22.5 degrees. And to do that, I'm going to right-click my angle, change the angle snap to 22.5 degrees. And now it will always rotate only 22.5 degrees. And I'm going to tap E and rotate it along the Z axis just once. 22.5, negative 22.5. Let go. Hit enter. Now when I click on my front viewport, okay, I should just see these faces are facing directly out. And that's what I want. Okay? And if I go to my left viewport, it's the same thing. That's where his shoulder will be made from one of these eventually. Okay. That is how we set up the cylinder ready to be played with, but there's one last thing I need to do, and that is creating an animated see-through material, which I'll do in the next video. Okay, bye-bye!